Hello everybody, I am the Worm, and welcome back to Steins. Well, I've finished it. I've gotten to the end. And that means it's time for a little epilogue. Let's go ahead and set some music for us here. Let's see. Yeah, that sounds alright. Okay. It's been quite a while, really. How many episodes did I get to in the end there? Let me check. Let me check real quick. Looks like 92. I don't think that's the most I've ever done. Yeah, Raging Loop was a bit longer, looks like. But definitely one of my longer Let's Plays, that's for sure. Yeah, okay, so for today, I will say this. It's probably gonna mostly be audio here, probably not much to look at. We will be doing a character tier list in the latter half, but beyond that, if you just want to put me in the background or anything like that, that'd probably be for the best, since I couldn't really think of what to do while recording this. I mean, I could put on a different game or something like that, but you're not you wouldn't be here for that game. You're here for Steins, so I wouldn't. It didn't seem right to put on a different game while recording, or something like that. So yeah, before getting into my thoughts on the story as a whole, I wanted to go ahead and give some acknowledgements, some thanks. First and foremost, I want to give thanks to Lise, who really enabled this Let's Play to, well, not only to happen, but to go as smoothly as it did. I was directed to the patch for Steins, which seemed to fix up a lot of stuff and make sure it, it was a pleasant experience to read and to look at. And Lise was also responsible for putting together the guide for me in order to get to the true ending. And so that was very useful, and not just the true ending, but to also make sure I saw the major scenes, the major alternative scenes that I could have gotten during my first time through. And so I really just want to say thank you, Lise, because that could have gone a lot worse if not for you. And no one's really done that for me before. I mean, it's not like I've done so many Let's Plays that's been an issue, but still, I really appreciate it. And I just want to thank all the people who were commenting along during the Let's Play. I've mentioned it in some of my other playthroughs, but that's a big part of my motivation for doing these sorts of things, and uploading these videos, is I kind of like the interaction. Now, of course, we got to be careful in how we do that, because at least with what I've been playing thus far, it feels like pretty much everyone else has already played it, so that makes it difficult to talk every now and then, with trying to avoid spoilers and stuff like that. But, when people do give their thoughts, I enjoy reading them, and I enjoy responding to them. Lately, things have been a bit difficult, but so it's kind of taken me time to respond, but I really do like it. So I want to thank you all again for following along with that and interacting with me. Yeah, okay. So I have a little outline here that we're going to get into. And yes, so first things first. How many times have I said first things first? Okay. moving on to general impressions. I mentioned this at the end of the last episode of the playthrough, but we're going to go into a bit more detail. But overall, I'm going to say I've had a positive experience with Steins Gate. Certainly it kept my attention all the way through. There was never any moments where I wanted to quit or was dreading getting back into it. There were some points where that felt a bit just sort of meh. But I was always looking forward to another good moment, really. But as I stated previously, in terms of the visual novels that I've done thus far, Steins Gate doesn't really... It's not one of my top VNs, for sure. Ubineko Higurashi, The House in Fata Morgana, Danganronpa, even Raging Loop, which was another big one on my channel. I think I enjoyed all of those a bit more than in Steins Gate. Yeah. And that's actually pretty interesting to me. Again, I don't think it's bad. But part of the reason I've been wanting to play this is because just over time, I've played a few visual novels before starting my channel, and I've been somewhat interested in them before even starting them, and I would watch other playthroughs that people would make, and one thing that kept popping up over time was people would recommend Steins Gate, and this was just my impression of that, was Steins Gate seemed to have a really positive reputation across the internet. And so that was one I would just constantly hear over and over. And I also mentioned this previously, but there was there was one guy in particular who he really loved it. He said, well, I think one thing he said, it was the best time travel story ever, but he also said it was one of the best stories ever, period. I remember thinking, really, that's quite something. And so I was always curious to finally get to play it. And I'm glad I did. But still, when you have your... when you have had it built up to such an extent, you know... I mean, I wouldn't go as far as to say I'm disappointed, but more just kind of surprised, I guess. And yeah, so to get into a bit more detail about that, what seemed to me is that this story had a good amount of surprising moments, but the general story itself and the various character arcs didn't really surprise or... it didn't really surprise me. A couple examples. You know, there were shocking moments. When Mayuri got jellified. When Nai became a killer. And you know, she killed Kiryu, Moika, and that whole little thing, you know, or just some of all those sorts of things. On those moments, they were shocking and they were surprising, and they could hit you really hard. But when we talk about the actual development of the characters throughout the whole story, so, for example, like Okabe, in his journey from starting as a Chunibyo to as the seriousness and the guilt of what has happened really settles on him, he sort of loses that character trait, and then at the end he embraces it again. And then like that wasn't surprising to me. It made it felt like I could see it coming, you know? Like eventually he's gonna embrace Hoing Kyoma and go all out, you know? I was somewhat just expecting that to be the case. And then like Karisu was her sort of main thing is just that she's a tsundere, and that was it. She didn't really develop beyond that. Even when we got to the confession scene at the very end of it, during the Karisu's ending going into the true ending, she kissed him, but she still wasn't able to sort of say it aloud. So you know, it's just I guess if you just sort of like that character trait, then that's fine, but it felt like it didn't really develop to me all that much. Now, if I'm getting any of this wrong, feel free to point it out. These are just, you know, my thoughts as I'm getting to the end here. And so that's kind of where I'm at this moment. There were some good moments from the story, but the story itself didn't really, I don't know. I'm not sure how much this is, when I look back at it far in the future, I'm not sure how, like even today, thinking about the endings of Fata Morgana or Umineko, you know, those sorts of things, they really stick with me, you know? I'm not sure how much this one is going to stick with me. That's kind of where I'm at. I mean, the ending itself was pretty sweet. Not even, I mean, it was pretty much the best thing we could have possibly gotten. Everyone was living. I remember I speculated a bit that perhaps we could get a bittersweet ending where Okabe would have to sacrifice himself, and he almost does. You know, he gets stabbed and almost dies, but they decided to go pretty much with a happy ending, which I'm okay with. I'm okay with happy endings in visual novels, but it's just, I don't know. Yeah. Another thing, the music. The music was just okay. It was perfectly fine. It set the mood. It was always good at just setting the mood, but that's pretty much all it did for me. Especially, and again, I know, sorry, I continue to bring them up, but Fata Morgana, Umineko, Higurashi, Danganronpa, you know, in terms of the music department, those are pretty heavy hitters in visual novel, in all the visual novels, right? And so going from those ones to ones that just set the mood, it's a, you know, it feels like a bit of a downgrade. I did like the different versions, like and I think it's not like Steins Gate's the only one to ever do this, but I always do like the I don't know what to call this, but it's when they take the main theme and then they give it a remix and then play it again later, or played the remix of it later on, and it's all hype and stuff like that. They usually do it right before a big moment in the story, and I'm kind of a sucker for that. So I did like it when Steins Gate did it as well. Yeah, so let's talk about, you know, let's actually talk about some of my favorite moments now. One thing I will say that I was impressed with is the way that this story was able to consistently able to sort of crush us in a manner of speaking. A particular example that I'm thinking of, and it's weird to describe this as a favorite moment, but it was certainly one of the it was one of the moments that affected me the most. So first of all, just the various Mayuri deaths, you know, they were terrible, and having to experience that over and over. I mean, if there's any story that can do that, well, it would be a time travel story, so it's good that they were able to get that right. So we had this experience with being unable to save Mayuri over and over and over again, and so then most of this is kind of the center part of Steins Gate, and so we're trying to get to the part where Suzuha can go back and get us the IBN, and you know, it takes a lot to get there. It's not quick and easy, but eventually we're able to do that. We're able to get to the point where Suzuha, we fix the time machine. Suzuha can go back, and it feels like we're about to enter the next part of the story. Okay, we're going to get the IBN. Now we're going to take the fight to CERN and do all this sort of stuff. Who knows what? We'll be able to save Mayuri. Who you know, we're making progress finally after all the struggle. And then we get, and again, this is probably, you can go back to that episode because I was shocked. We get the letter from Suzuha, from she's 40 years old at the time of writing or something like that. And it's essentially her suicide note. And just the idea that all our struggling not only failed, but caused Suzuha to suffer so badly. Man, like punch to the gut, kick in the teeth, like those phrases don't even accurately describe how awful that felt. I mean, so that was, I gotta give props to Steins Gate for that scene, those series of scenes, because that was awful. So yeah, so that's the big example, but I think it happens more times throughout the story. But so yeah, just thinking, okay, when we're finally gonna start winning, and then bam, the floor is knocked out from under us and we fall back down again. And I think I've mentioned it several times throughout my playthrough, that when it's happening. I did actually enjoy as well the whole the fake out ending there. I'm not sure why I was so surprised, but I ended up getting surprised by the fake out credits. But it was so funny to me when it was Suzuha calling, and then it turns out the big twist is, oh yeah, World War III is happening. that got me. That got me pretty good. And I think I mentioned this last time, I felt like the story could have gone, could have ended right after that, where it was almost something like Okabe sort of realizes that he's trapped, and that no matter which attractor field he goes to, there's going to be some other huge catastrophe waiting. And yet he decides to do so anyway. But no, apparently there was that, the Steins Gate world line, and that whole, I mean, of course, I should have expected it, because, you know, we were waiting for an explanation on on all the mysterious events that occurred in the very first world line that we saw. So yeah. Okay, so those were some of my favorite things that happened. I mean, some of the character interactions, they were also good. Yeah, I mean, the various character endings, they're all pretty good. I feel like Moeka got a bit of the short end of the stick there. But other than that, they were all right. Okay, I should save more of the character talk for the character tier list. So let's hold off on that, actually. Stuff I didn't like. in particular. For one thing, just the fact that this is a time travel story. I think I said this in the beginning and may have said it. I've said it before even starting this Let's Play in a couple other videos, how I don't really like time travel stories all that much. And it's mostly just due to the... they make... The implications tend to make me very uncomfortable. So... And this is part of the... So my issue is kind of with time travel stories in general, but I'll get to where Steins Gate comes into it. It's the idea that... I mean... How do I phrase this? I think I even talked... No, I shouldn't say that. Mayuri mentions... Funnily enough, it is Mayuri that mentions part of the issues that I have. It's when Mayuri and Okabe are walking around town, and Mayuri starts asking these questions. She's trying to understand time travel a bit more. And she says, okay, you use the time leap machine, you go back to the past, you change something. Or I can't remember if it's the time leap machine or the D-mail she's asking about. I think maybe it's actually the D-mail she's asking about. And she's asking, well, does that mean I disappear? And Okabe tries to say, well, you're not technically disappearing, it's more like it didn't happen, and so the idea is, I don't like that idea, that whole realities could just be erased through, you know, such almost innocuous actions. Not to mention, and we didn't really get that in this story, but in the stories that are sort of multi-timeline, it feels like there are moments where, you know, you'll go to another timeline and they'll change an event, go to the future of that timeline, and you'll see that you've screwed everything up. And at the end of that, you can just go back to your original one. And so it feels like it really cheapens the lives of people. I'm probably not making too much sense here, but yeah. Now, in Steins Gate, and this was the eternal question, and I still don't really know the answer. Now that I've finished the story, maybe you can, maybe people can give me a firm description of how it works exactly, but I believe it's something like it's only a single timeline. Oh, drat. I think it's only a single timeline, I think, and the others are just possibilities. Yeah, I don't know. I'm at this moment in time, I'm still a bit confused. I think it's a single timeline, and then I get confused because of how deterministic a lot of the stories seem to be. You know, we had that whole thing with fighting back against fate, trying to save Mayuri, and then fighting fate again to save Krisu. But then it's something like, but it was eventually fate that Okabe would, you know, use the D-mail or time leap anyway. That's kind of the sense I got of it. Again, I'm still not sure precisely. So at the moment, it's looking to me like Steins Gate, their whole time travel system is kind of a deterministic single timeline. But that's probably not accurate. Of course, at the end, the whole deal with getting to the Steins Gate, quote-unquote, world line, is that it is entirely unobserved. Still don't really understand that. Don't understand... it's totally unobserved, so its future is completely uncertain, or something like that. That was the point of it. So I still don't understand how fate works as such. I mean, I get it. I understand that there are the world lines and attractor fields, and the attractor fields work based on huge events that, you know, all the different world lines coalesce around that, and that's what... And then from those big events, the after effects split off from it. I was gonna say something else just now, but I forgot it. Shucks, I don't remember. I was about to say something, and then I lost it. Okay, let's pause time travel discussion for a second. Another thing that I think it's okay. It's perfectly fine that the story did this. It's just, for me, I was kind of hoping for something more. The story, it was very limited. The scope of the story was very limited, in that it was a very, all things considered, it was a small cast of characters, all in one area, in what felt like it could have been much bigger. Now, I get it, the story doesn't have to be this huge, grand epic. It doesn't have to, you know, if you know, they obviously wanted the story to be just about these characters in this one area and their struggles, that's perfectly fine. But there were a lot of moments where it just sort of left me thinking, oh, I want to know more about CERN, or I want to know more about Suzuha's future. You know, I want to see how it got there, or you know, the thing with the espers, all that sort of stuff. There was quite a few moments where I felt like, or how about this, reading Steiner, you know, we kept getting, I kept thinking that we would eventually get that explained, but it never was. The only thing that did get explained is that it's actually not exclusive to Okabe, it's something that everyone has, but he, in particular, has a very strong reading Steiner. But again, why then is his power so strong, in particular? Is it a genetic thing, or how does that work? And again, how is he able to leverage this sense to create this objective measurement device that could, you know, tell you the what would it be, the deviation, or the exactly how much difference there was between your current world line and another? I don't know. It's just there were a lot of moments that felt like there could have been a lot more, and then there wasn't. But again, that's just my reaction to it. I don't think that necessarily means it's bad because of it. Yeah. So that's pretty much that, I think. I'm sure there's a couple things I was thinking of that I've just forgotten. And we can continue talking a bit either in the comments here or on Discord if there's anything else. But that's pretty much most of my thoughts, I think, on the story in general. Overall, I liked it. I don't think it was bad, but it was just sort of okay. I'm glad to have read it, and I'm glad for the interactions that came about because of it. So I'm going to go ahead and take a quick break, and when I get back, we're going to go ahead and go into the character tier list, This one shouldn't take too long. There's not many characters, really. We'll go through that. We'll talk about each of the characters in turn. And then after that, I'll give a few thoughts on what we're going to be doing in the future. So if you're sticking around for that, thank you very much, and I hope to see... What am I saying? What am I saying? Just take a break. All right. Be back in 5, but for you, it'll probably just be a second. All right. We are back. Back in action. Here's our little tier list here. Got the characters all lined up. And again, not too many, really. Although, I've actually not counted between the different visual novels I've actually done. So I'm curious. I'd have to go back to look at... I've done Danganronpa 2. I've done Raging Loop. I'm curious which one has the most characters. But I don't know, for whatever reason, I looked at this list of characters here, and I thought it didn't feel like too many, but yeah. Alright. So, who do we want to talk about first? Who indeed? Well, you know what? We're gonna do now, okay, before starting this, I should actually say, this is more a list about characters I enjoyed. I personally enjoyed or did not enjoy. I know that sometimes, I could do something like how well written they are, but unfortunately, I don't trust myself to be able to, make objective statements like that. So this is more just my opinion poll, really, on the characters more than anything else. Having said that, let's start with Daru, of all people. And I'll probably be shifting these around as time goes on. But we gotta start somewhere. So I'm gonna start with Daru in B tier. This goes from S to D. So S, A, B, C, D. And yeah, I put him in B because I definitely... I mean, he was comic relief most of the time, right? And honestly, I'm kind of sad that he never really got much character development. Or at least it didn't feel that way to me. The one... Well, he had... Okay, there were 3 things about Daru throughout the whole story, right? One, he's super haka. Other thing, he's an otaku. And third thing is he's eventually revealed to be Suzuha's dad. And nothing throughout the story ever seems to change him or give him development. He reacts to things that happen, but other than just being a friend to Mayuri and Okabe, it feels like not much happens there. And unfortunately, I don't really like his brand of comedic relief, which was essentially just make perverted comments every so often. Which, if you like that sort of thing and that was funny to you, then more power to you. But just for me personally, not my cup of tea. And yeah. So I will say it is very sad that we didn't get a Daru ending. We all the girls had their own little arcs and endings, and then poor Daru was just the odd man out. And so I don't know. Yeah, so I'm gonna start with Daru in B for now. Next, I'm going to go ahead and put Ferris in B. This is just starting, okay? I'm not sure she's gonna stay there. Now this mostly goes down to the fact that, again, I didn't really enjoy the Ferris character. Now again, let me distinguish. There's Akiha Rumiho, right? And then there's Ferris, which is a character that Akiha plays, or is a part of her identity. You know, however you want to describe it. And unfortunately, I just don't really like the Ferris character. The cat maid plus Chunibyo plus Rainet champion. You know, I'm sure there's people with plenty of different tolerances for it, but her voice was just sort of like nails on a chalkboard in my brain, and so there were at times, you know, I think the volume might have been a bit too high, but just hearing her voice would make me wince you know, just it was very, very high, very unpleasant to listen to. Again, that's just me. And the whole cutesy moe thing, just also not for me, really. Now, her story, that being the heir to Akihabara, and the whole thing she went through with her father, and you know, now that I'm thinking about it, I find myself getting confused. How did... Hang on, let me bring up my notes. Okay, here are my notes. Let me see here. Ferris's... Ah, dang it. Why didn't I write that down? Man, what was up with that creepy dream about being sent back 70 million years to the past by unknown enemies, and Mayuri's there, and Mayuri said she had, and there were multiple Mayuris and Okabes. That was crazy. I wanted to see more of that kind of stuff. I mean, it sounds horrifying, but definitely interesting. Sorry, random tangent. Sorry, I just, for whatever reason, I can't remember how Ferris's father died. I understand it was she sent that email about her being kidnapped, right? But it was fake. Did he die in a crash? What was it? How did he die again? Because the email that saved his life was telling him that it was a joke, and he stayed home, right? Okay. I mean, yeah, in her ending, it was definitely heart-wrenching at times. Her having to say goodbye to her father. And it was the first time we got to see that someone else had reading Steiner, in a way. Oh, but you know, her whole story had this guy in it. So that made it not good. Yeah, so I'm thinking she'll stay on B for now. Yeah. Let's go to... Okay, how about... We'll put Nai in B. Yeah. I mean, she was pretty much... She wasn't much of a character for a good portion of the story. Just sort of, you know, shy girl. And, The big interesting thing that happened with her, though, of course, is the during Moeka's part of the story, where she blames Moeka and Okabe for what happened to her father. So in that, and of course she pushed Mayuri onto a train track, killed her, and of course she gets the creepy child award, which it seems like a lot of VNs have, you know, one creepy child, at least one creepy child, maybe more. And so she gets the creepy child award for this visual novel. You always gotta have one, I guess. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, just sort of middle of the road is what I'm feeling right now. I'm gonna put her father, Mr. Braun, Tennoji. I'm gonna put him in A. He definitely, you know, he had more scenes than Nai did. And he was pretty funny. I always liked how he was, he was, you know, there were a lot of people that didn't like Okabe's Chunibyo thing, but he especially just sort of bulldozed him whenever he tried anything, and I appreciated that. And then, of course, there was the fact that he was FB all along, and so, yeah. Okay, here's a question to the people, to everyone out there. And if this is explained in something else that I may read or watch later, then maybe don't tell me, but if this is explained somewhere in the story and I just missed it. So, the line to CERN, the fiber optic cable, that was probably just because of FB, right? Because that was Tennoji's place, and we know he was a CERN agent. That's probably why it was there, right? That was the explanation? I can't remember if they ever outright said it, but I think that was the explanation. Okay. So for that explanation alone, I feel like I'm thankful for him, because that was driving me crazy, trying to think about why that was the case. And then, of course, you know, the whole thing where he was as FB dealing with Moeka, and then it sort of revealed that, oh, you know, he actually does care, that sort of thing. So, yeah, I like him as a character, I think. Let's see. Okay, I'm looking at this more. I'm wondering, I think I should probably... Okay, again, we're just experimenting here. I'm gonna shift these guys down to C, put you in B. And let's say... Moeka. Let's put Moeka in B. Yeah. Now, Moeka ended up being less, well, when she was revealed to be a CERN agent, you know, wearing that skin-tight suit and all that sort of stuff, that really sort of made me think, okay, what's this girl's story? What is going on here? What's you know, because again, it opened up avenues for more information on CERN and the wider world, all that sort of stuff. And so, and she's kind of weird, right? Just her whole attitude and disposition. But having it be revealed that, no, she's just extremely anxious, to the extreme that the first person to show her, give her any sort of, you know, attention or affection instantly gains her loyalty such that she's now willing to become an assassin or slave or whatever. I don't know. It just... yeah. And then rather than her own ending, her little story arc gets hijacked by Nai. So I wanted to like her more, but she's definitely a bit interesting. And of course she eventually, I don't know if she knows for sure at the very end in the Steins Gate world line. I don't know if she knows that FB is Tennoji. I don't think she does, but the idea that she was able to finally sort of break out of her shell, you know, at least there's some development there, so I'll give her that. I think I'm gonna I'll put Faris up here too, because whenever Akiha gets revealed past the Faris character, I thought those were good moments. Okay, Lukako is definitely at least A, I think. Definitely at least A. Of all the different sort of character arcs we've seen, I definitely thought that Lukako's was a bit more interesting. Mostly because, well, for one, it was just the whole, the D-mail and changing from being born a boy to a girl. That was quite something. I wasn't expecting that, but then sort of getting into the reasons why and all of that. It was interesting trying to think about Lukako's mindset, and I think, you know, that I think it was in the episodes in the run up to it was before we got to the true end. It was one of the episodes right before then. I can't remember which exactly. But I think we've gotten a handle on, you know, what makes Lukako tick. And seeing that Lukako is finally able to break out of his shell at the end there, similar to Moeka in a way, you know, it felt like a good payoff, I feel. And of course Lukako has to, well, doesn't has to, but is, because of how Lukako cares for Okabe, he freely goes along with the Chunibyo stuff. But of course, it's not just that. Lukako's also thankful. We got to see in that flashback how Okabe was actually able to stand up for Lukako and saved him. Well, it wasn't like a life or death situation, but was able to get rid of those guys that were harassing him, basically. And so, yeah. Of course, Lukako was also some comedic relief. Was with clumsiness every so often. Yeah, I'd say I have a pretty positive view of Lukako. So next, Suzuha, I want to say, I'm going to start with putting her in S, I think. S tier Suzuha. S for Suzuha. There we go. But yeah, Suzuha's whole thing with coming from the future. Again, the whole time travel system in Steins Gate, D-mails and time leaps made more sense to be, but then we got into actual physical time travel with Suzuha, and that's where things kind of feels like it gets murky for me, but let's put that aside for now. Suzuha's whole thing, coming to the past as an agent of the Resistance, and everything she's gone through, and the stuff that was revealed about, like, she's on a mission, but she jeopardizes it because she wanted to see her father, and the sacrifices she goes through to actually fulfill her mission, and the whole suicide thing, we already talked about that. And then in her ending, where it was the one where Okabe kind of goes crazy, looping, and she's able to see that. She's able to actually see and diagnose exactly what has been going on with him, and it was a pretty, yeah, and then him deciding to go, yeah, you know what, she's S tier. Suzuha is S tier for me. I also just liked, you know, she's obviously very capable. She's able to, what was it, disarm those mercenaries and, you know, fight against Moeka in those scenes. But it's less impressive when you realize Moeka's just, you know, a kind of a normal person. Where did she get that suit? Where did you get that, Moeka? I don't understand. But, you know, so Suzuha is just eminently capable. But she's still, you know, she would, whenever we saw her, she had her bike, and she was a what was it, Chisu? What was it? When she said, "What's up?" Yeah, you know what? I just like Suzuha. I like her whole personality, and throughout the story. She was John Tidor. She was John Tidor the whole time. She was, gave us the info on time travel and world lines. She was just great. Yeah. A well-deserved S rank, I think. Okay, this one will probably be a bit controversial. Do I even dare, though? Do I dare? I'm thinking of putting Mayuri in A. Is that heresy? Is that, you know, is that awful? An awful thing to do? Just, the problem to me is, you know, she was cute, she's kind, you know, tuturu, all that sort of stuff. All that's great. All that's, you know, perfectly fine. She's kind of a little airheaded, but she can also see to the heart of the matter. You know, that's kind of a, well, not a trope, but she's kind of ditzy, but at the same time, she knows exactly sort of what's going on in Okabe's mental state, and so she's while being airheaded, also very sharp somehow, you know. But she's always just sort of, and you know what? Okay, this goes to her credit. She's always just, she even says she feels useless, and it's always Okabe trying to save her. Let's put her in S. Mayuri's good. I'll tell you what, when I mentioned it not too long ago, actually. Remember that dream that Okabe had where sent back 70 million years and suddenly Mayuri was there and she was the one chasing after him now? Man, I would have liked... well, but, I mean, we get plenty of scenes like that. She saves Okabe's life a few times, doesn't she? There's the one with the car accident. I don't even know. That wasn't an accident. I think that was an intentional. I think, what was it? One of the CERN guys drove at him in a van, and she pushed him out of the way and took the hit for him. Yeah. Okay. And you know, she provides some comedic relief on her own too. Just with some of the things she says. Yeah, Mayuri is good. Mayuri deserves an S rank. I think. Now, where does Karisu go? Where does she go? Starting in A. And this goes back to what I was talking about before in the that whole thing with character arcs. It feels like Karisu doesn't really change throughout the whole story. She's always just genius tsundere. And she's seen as she is shown to be just extremely good-natured with her interactions with her father, especially when she sacrifices her life for him. So she's pretty much just perfectly good, pretty much. I mean, a thing that pushes her higher is definitely the interactions with Okabe, where it's just their banter. Their banter is pretty funny. I could see some people getting bored of it, but I think I was always entertained by their back and forth. The whole Christina thing and the assistant and talking about @channel and all those sorts of things were good. But, you know, like with Suzuha and Mayuri, I can think of really big moments that sort of push them over the edge into that S rank. But I'm trying to think for Karisu, what is one scene that was really great with Karisu? What was it? Okay, the only scene that's coming to mind is the confession scene, I think. Because, you know, all things considered, that was really sweet. It was a really sweet moment, I think. For sure. But is that enough? That's the question. Let's leave her there for now. And then Okabe, our protagonist. I'm gonna start him at A. And a big issue for me was, and I mentioned this at the very beginning, really, not at the very beginning, but one of the early episodes. I'm just not a big fan of the Chunibyo thing. And so, when that's just his thing throughout the whole story, except for the parts where he gets depressed, and then at the end, it's him sort of embracing that character in order to give himself the push he needs to, you know, save the day. It was kind of expected, and it's just, okay, just more of this, more Hoin Kyoma. It wasn't... I mean, of course, I can respect him as a character for... he obviously did have a pretty strong moral compass towards his friends, and I think it was good that he felt guilt for the various time travel experiments that he did. In that sense, I actually think he made sense for a time travel story protagonist, because he was afraid to play God, which, as I said, it's part of that whole, just the time travel story genre that it makes me feel uncomfortable. So it does. So I am glad that he felt that way as well. There were quite a few moments that I felt I don't know. I wished he would have picked up on things a lot sooner than he did. I mean, if I really want to play this safe, I would have to just put these two in S tier, right? I mean, that's probably it. Are there? I'm curious. In the broader Steins Gate fandom, so to speak, if such a thing exists, but probably not. I don't know. What's the consensus? Yeah. Well, maybe I'll visit these two again, but these two down here, they're gonna stay down there. They're gonna stay in D, because that's where they belong. Shido is just an evil punk who's also a bit chuny, but a different kind of chuny, and he's just evil and bad and resorts to trying to murder you for winning a children's card game. Yeah, no, just kind of a nothing character, really. So of the two down there, Dr. Nakabachi is definitely more interesting. However, still just sort of gratuitously evil. He's such an inferiority complex that, you know, he's a scientist. He has a daughter who's also smart enough to become a scientist, and she's smarter than him. And he's so upset about that he separates from them, changes his own name, and again, how old is Kurisu? Is she younger than Okabe or the same age? I can't remember. But she's probably fairly close to 18. Or thereabouts. So 7 years ago, maybe 11? Okay, so your 11-year-old is smarter than you. And that upsets you so much you separate from them. And then 7 years later you invite your child back just to prove you're smart. Oh my goodness. That is, like, it's hard to believe he's real. I know he's not real, but I mean, within the story, it seems silly. That's the thing. I do understand. There are in the world, in reality, there are crazy, irrational people that do horrible things. I get it, but that doesn't make it didn't make it any less kind of weird to me. Just the way he acted. I did think it was funny that when it was revealed that it was the Nakabachi papers that caused World War III. And I was thinking, oh, so this guy's actually pretty formidable, and that he is, you know, was able to solve the time travel problem. Only to have it revealed that it was actually Kurisu's paper. That was pretty funny. Yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah. Okay. Well, we're coming up on over an hour now, so I think I should probably start to wrap up. Can I... Here. There we go. AA. Does that make it better? I don't know. Or is that just a cop-out? It feels like a cop-out. But I think that's pretty much where I'm at right now. Now, I could be convinced that some of these could be changed, but for now, I think this is where I'm at. It's just that Suzuha and Mayuri both have scenes, or, you know, Mayuri's different scenes at the grave and stuff, talking about her grandmother. You know, Suza and Mayuri feel like that have that extra something that sort of pushed them higher for me. Whereas Kurisu and Okabe, you know, definitely good. But I mean, yeah. Oh, one thing I haven't mentioned so far is, you know, beyond me not liking Faris' voice all that much, everyone else, the voice actors, were all great, I think. As far as I can tell. You know, I obviously don't speak Japanese, so, but at least to my ears, they hit the emotional points very well. Okabe was very good. Just, yeah. All of them, really. I can't think of anyone that was bad. And again, Faris is more just me not liking that type of voice more than that voice being bad. It was appropriate to the character. So yeah, that was all good. Yeah. Okay. So let's wrap up there. If there's any particular story question or something you want me to mention, you can comment on this video, or you could comment in Discord. Again, I know that lately I haven't been as active as I was previously, and that might be the state of affairs for a little while because things have gotten very complicated, but I'll try to be as prompt as I can with the responses. I do want to talk about future plans really quick beyond Steins Gate, in case anyone's wondering. A bunch of people have asked about Steins Gate 0. I haven't looked it up, but I'm aware of it, and we'll probably get to it at some point. But for now, I'm not going to be playing it or reading through it. The thing I'm going to do next is, well, I was going to say in all likelihood, but it's pretty much a certainty at this point. It's going to be Danganronpa V3. That's what we're going to do next. And before we play that, I have a special video coming out. It's going to be regarding all the different Danganronpa games I've played thus far, and also the Danganronpa anime. Before getting into V3, that was something I wanted to do. I wanted to watch the anime and then give my thoughts to everyone on it. And so that's what I've done. And so there's going to be a video coming out before I start Danganronpa V3. It's going to be... It's basically going to be a kind of... Not review, I guess, because review sounds very official, and I doubt my... I doubt I can... You know, I hesitate to try to objectively rank or review things like that, but it's going to be my experience of the Danganronpa series as a whole, and it's going to be a big dive into, well, it's going to be my thoughts on the anime. We'll talk about it, about the twists and how it ties everything together, and that'll be kind of my prelude to Danganronpa V3, because I'm very interested to finally play it, because it's something that's been on the back burner for a while. So yeah, that's those are my future plans. It'll probably be a few days before I make that video and then upload it. So, you know, it may take a little while for me to get there, but that's what's going to be next. Until then, you know, I upload these, every so often I upload videos about the Hoyoverse games. I get it. I know a lot of people aren't interested in that. That's more just for me, because I enjoy playing those. So, and I like to share my experience with it with other people. So, those will be... I'm gonna stay on the every other day upload schedule that I've been on. That feels right. And then things like the Hoyoverse games or any other thing I might choose to do, they'll be on the off days. Yeah, I may want to change that upload schedule at some point in the future. If I do, I'll probably let y'all know. But that's probably how it's going to be for now. Because I know I've stated in the past I would like to. My ideal goal would be something like one main game every other day, and then maybe minor playthroughs recorded in advance. You know what? Let's not talk about that now, because I'm not gonna be able to make any promises. Things are just too busy at the moment for me to do that. In any case, I've been the Worm. This has been Steins Gate. Thanks again for watching if you made it this far, and I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.